Of all of us, I think I'm the first one she'd meet. She and I, we were the hoof. We understood each other. He gave a small shrug. I held her as I looked to keep her. So, what happened next? Why'd the rest of you break up? Oh, Dawn leaving started the split. After that, we just pulled apart. Awesome and Daddy wouldn't speak to each other. Awesome took his groupies and Daddy his thugs. Crunchy went to establish a ranger base. For a time, it was me and the professor, but eventually she settled down. He chuckled. Me? I tried the whole family thing, over and over again. Bought mares, wooed mares, seduced mares. Heck, even had a few seduce me. Had a few kids here and there, but most of them had the sense not to look for me. I'd started roaming around the hoof again. Just not a family buck, I suppose. For a time, I figured we'd make things better on our own. I had a reputation as a fair business buck. Maybe a bit of a loose wag. But folks still traded as a better alternative to talking. So I did all I could to keep the trade going. I figured we'd be like the ministry mares of old. The five of us would just work till the hoof finally had its problems resolved. But it didn't turn out that way. The society ponies used the collegiate to make their plantations, then screwed 'em. The rangers and the collegiate fight over scraps of technology. The reapers and the rangers rip each other apart on general principles. And the reapers and society ponies are in a take-and-take relationship. Only us finders have managed to keep ourselves out of it. Till Ulcery had to go and start slaving. He sighed at my scowl. Now she's scrapping up Brahmin turds. I scowled. Then my eye popped open wide as I looked at the door leading downstairs. That's Ulcery. I clattered to my hooves and lurched. Damn, even the medics. My head was killing me. I need to talk to her. About Red Eye? Find out where they're going to be a threat. I said as I trot towards the door. She's pretty abrupt, ain't she? Keeper muttered. I pretended not to hear Glory's giggle and headed down the stairs. I made it to the fourth step to the bottom when there was a sudden stabbing pain in the crook of my foreleg. The limb folded beneath me, and with a groan and clatter I fell the rest of the way down the stairs. The yellow unicorn filly jumped to her feet as the sour yellow mare with a cutie mark of a red ink bottle sneered in delight. One of the Brahmin heads looked at me and muttered, 9.1. The other looked at his partner and snorted, You crazy, Bill? She botched the landing. I'd give her a 6.5. Are you okay, miss? The unicorn filly said as I lay there in a heap. I'd landed right on my head. Normally I'd make a joke about that being the hardest part of me, but it flippin' hurt. I felt like I'd broken my horn, and actually reached up to touch it to make sure it was still in place. My head just ached, despite the medics. I covered my face with my hooves. Yeah, I said as I rubbed my face hard. Definitely sick. I pushed the eye patch off, groaning. Everything felt puffy on that side of my head. I dropped to my hooves and smiled at the yellow unicorn. Good thing I landed on my head, huh? But the filly wasn't laughing. She was screaming, backing away as fast as her hooves would take her. A few moments later, Glory ran down the steps. What? What is it? I know I'm ugly, but... Except Glory wasn't laughing. The filly hid behind the Brahmin. The Brahmins' heads muttered to each other. What's the big deal? Old Keeper looked even more grave. Then I looked over at Ulcery, and even she wasn't smiling. Glory slowly knelt in front of me, and I saw her gulp and turn pale as she looked into my eye socket that had been taken by the enervation and taint. Blackjack, does your right eye socket hurt? Yeah. Why? I gave a little grin. Am I finally growing that eye tentacle penis? Gloria wasn't laughing. I started to reach up towards the right side of my face, and she stopped me. She took a deep breath. We're going to need a scalpel, forceps, vodka, a spoon, any healing potions you might have that are still purple, a fire, and a memory orb. A very long memory orb. Keeper nodded and turned to the filly. Little bit. You have a memory orb for the nice mare, right? Something long and pleasant? The filly nodded, not taking her eyes off me as she backed away to her bags and dug through them with her hoof. Finally, she pulled out a golden memory orb. She passed it to Keeper. It was like she was afraid of going near me. How bad? I muttered as I reached out again. I forced myself to blink that eyelid. It felt... Oh, sweet Celestia, what was that? Get it out? I whimpered as I felt my heart start to beat faster and faster in my chest. Get it out, please? Get it out! Glory kept my hooves away from my face. I blinked again and felt the urge to cut it out of myself, rising. I will, Blackjack, I will. She promised softly as Keeper passed the memory orb to her and then trotted to the Brahmin packs. How long is the memory orb, sweetie? Glory asked the filly. I don't know, she muttered, swallowing. An hour? 2? I hope it'll be long enough, she muttered as she returned. About the cost, Keeper said as he passed her a bottle of Stalingrad's finest. Afterwards, Glory said firmly. She lifted the bottle to my lips. Take a good long drink, in case this memory is shorter than we think it is. I did, feeling the alcohol burn down my throat and settle in my stomach. Another, she said firmly. Well, always follow the orders of your medical pony. Gulp. And one more for luck, she said with a nervous smile. I closed my eyes and took 3 gulps off the bottle. Spasba, I muttered as I touched the golden memory orb with my horn. Wait, what I just said? Okay. Try not to think about what Glory was doing. Focus on a memory orb. A nice, boring memory orb. This was a buck. Let's see. Horn. In a luxurious sky wagon with its own terminal. And his chest hurt. He rasped with every breath as he levitated papers in front of him. Sweet Celestia, I knew this buck. Golden blood lay on his side on some pillows, and there was a head resting on his flank. A head with luxurious silken pink hair, with just a few streaks of near white near the temple that spilled over her rear legs. Are we almost there? A mare whispered in a timid voice. A beautiful pair of teal eyes darted and peeked up at him, through the hooves clasped tightly over them. He murmured as he turned, nuzzled her hooves aside, and kissed her gently. I was astonished at how soft her lips were. We're an hour away at the least, he said softly. You could have gotten Twilight to teleport you. I know, but she's always so busy. I don't want to be a bother, she replied in the sweetest little voice I'd ever heard. I'm glad you came with me, though. Rarity was tied up with ministry business. She'll be there. I'm hoping to have a little chat with her. You could have asked Pinkie Pie, he rasped, breaking into a hacking cough. Each breath burned. Did it ever heal? Fluttershy held him and passed him a purple healing potion. After he drank it, the cough subsided a little. Thank you. As I was saying, she'd have been happy to attend any party, even at a hospital. No, I couldn't. She's changed, Fluttershy said softly as she looked at him. She's always so frantic. And I know she's smiling and laughing, but sometimes she scares me. Believe me, she worries me too, he murmured softly. I never expected her to be so zealous. She's rooted out a dozen traitors to the kingdom and had us seize their assets. I would have thought that was enough. But if anything, she seems more determined than ever to root out bad ponies. Applejack says Pinkie ordered a bunch of stuff for her ministry. Fluttershy bit her lip, her eyes darting away evasively. "What is it?" he asked with a raspy blur. When she didn't talk, he stroked her wings gently. "What's wrong with Pinkie Pie?" His voice was no firmer, but it had an authoritative tone to it that made me want to sit up straighter. "Please don't use the director voice," Fluttershy said as she closed her eyes. "I'm sorry," he replied immediately with a softer rasp. "It's my job, though. I have to keep Luna informed." "Please don't tell her. It was just one time," Fluttershy said, then clasped her hooves over her mouth. Slowly she melted as he looked at her. Finally she squeaked. "She collapsed at work the other day. She's been up for days working and working and working. She's taking this thing. It's called Dash. She had little inhalers all over her office. Apparently she ran out and was trying to make more when she collapsed. Her secretary found her." "Is she all right?" Goldenblood asked as he continued to pet her wings. Fluttershy sighed and shook her head. "She's back at work. She ignored me and her doctors and everything. But she laughed at first. But then she gave me a look. An angry look. She told me to buzz off and leave her alone." Fluttershy trembled. "My friend would never say that," she said as she hugged her middle gently. "She's under a lot of stress. You all are, especially you," he said as he kissed her along her yellow neck. "How are you feeling? Still sick?" "No, that's past," Fluttershy murmured and gave him a little smile. "You don't need to worry about me. I know all about babies." "You know all about other ponies having them. This is the first time you're doing it yourself. Remember what Trueblood said and take it easy. Let Redheart and Shirley take care of the hospital and school openings after this one," he replied. "You probably should have had them take care of this one, too." "Well, it's named after me," she said delicately. She looked at him and gave a little smile. "And what happened to 'It's absolutely vital for the future of Equestria that you oversee all activities of the Ministry of Peace'? She suddenly balked. "I'm sorry, was that rude of me? I didn't mean to be rude."
"By all means, be rude. You can be positively snitty if it makes you feel better," he said, then laughed. Then he sighed and stroked her middle. "I still have to figure out how to break this to every pony. Luna will have to know first, then Rarity."
"Do you think I could tell my friends together?" she asked in her cute little voice.
"Maybe. We'll have to see," he replied softly.
"I love you,"
she murmured, arching her neck to kiss him gently. "I know," he replied after the kiss was broken. For a moment I was afraid I was going to have to endure another marathon sex memory, but the pair simply cuddled. Fluttershy wore glasses as she shuffled through more papers, and he read reports about the Equestrian space program. He asked her about her forays into memory modification spells for dealing with emotional traumas. She asked him what names he was thinking of for the baby. As long as it doesn't have the name Blood in the name, was his only requirement. As they approached Hoofington, he opened a drawer with his magic. "Here, I was planning on giving this to you at the party, but..." As he levitated out a delicate silver butterfly mane clip. She gasped, flushing as he moved it over and pinned her hair out of her face. The rose quartz wings sparkled softly. The detail was such that it was almost seemingly like it was going to take off.
"It's lovely. Did you get it from Rarity?" she said as she nudged it with a hoof.